Announcing the commencement of the first purge.
I want you to change the world, and don't think that this is going to happen peacefully or you can do it alone. We need to kill the rich. You get out there, you use your weapons, and you rip Washington apart. You hunt down the billionaires, the bank bosses, the CEOs, the scumbags, and the liars, the governors, the lobbyists, the senators, because they're all the same, and you hang them.
Just remember all the good the purge does.
Good morning, everyone. July 8th, 2018. Look at this. You can actually see my face. I'm not recording in terrible light. Finally got some sleep. After a week of being up for 21 hours a day, and then coming home and being up about 30 some hours straight. Finally got some sleep. My bags under my eyes are gone. Cult of personality and politics. This is a dangerous thing. Dangerous. You see, people, when they go vote, they're not voting for principle. They're not voting for right and wrong. They're voting based on the personality of a particular candidate. And they get this following. And once they get this following, no matter what they do, what they say, it's right. It's just. Take our current president, for example. Do you think Donald Trump would have won if he had been branded as just another Republican? No, he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have won. They had to break out something new or recycle and manipulate the voters into believing that this man was going to do a goddamn thing for them. Right? I've talked about this before, but I have to really hammer this point home as often as possible. So, what do they do to get Donald Trump elected? The Rothschild Zionists. Because that's ultimately who his boss or bosses are. They have to make him look demonized in the news media. Why is it that the media loved Donald Trump for many, many years, and then just all of a sudden, because he decided to run for president, began to spout hatred for him? Why? You really believe they feel that way about him? No, they don't feel that way about Donald Trump. They were told to behave that way. And I'm sure there's organic hatred out there for Donald Trump, you know, like Robert De Niro and these fucking scumbags. And I call them scumbags not because they hate Donald Trump, but because they are who they are. Because they want what they want. But they've manipulated a huge section of the population into believing that this man, this candidate, will implement changes that are good for America, that are good for them at the individual level. And sure enough, Donald Trump did a tax break, but my stomach's still growling. Sure enough, they're implementing prison reform, yet the unconstitutional excessive bails continue. Even though the Supreme Court ruled these things unconstitutional, what's the point of having the Supreme Court if what they rule isn't followed? But, so they create this image of Mr. Trump, President Trump. And again, I don't have harbor any hatred for Donald Trump. Before he became president, I rather enjoyed his big-ass mouth, and I thought he was funny and all that stuff. I read a couple of his books, The Art of Dill being one of them. Excellent book. Excellent. But in order to get him in the office, they had to demonize him as being what he is, right? They had to make people think that he was the opposite of everything that came before him. Now, I called it a campaign of reverse psychology. And it was. It was a campaign of reverse psychology. And it reminds me of these tobacco commercials where they tell you not to smoke because X, Y, or Z will happen to you, right? Well, it's in human nature to believe that these things won't happen to us. And basically, the tobacco companies are paying for commercials that are illegal, or would be illegal if they were trying to sell the public cigarettes, right? Or chewing tobacco. But instead what they do is they put this poor victim on. And look, they're a victim of themselves more than anything because they decided to smoke in the first place. And I'm not knocking people that smoke, I do. Everyone falls for a trap. Everyone. Whether it's excessive eating or eating all the wrong shit to heroin to cocaine to some fucking thing. But we made these decisions ourselves, right? We decided to smoke. But in order to generate a new generation of smokers to push their product on, they had to find a way to make it okay for them to make themselves known. And one of these ways is anti-smoking campaigns. They don't work. Just like the anti-drug campaigns in the schools don't work, and they're not meant to work. Because it's human nature to believe, to think. I'll never have a hole in my throat from smoking. I'll never get throat cancer or lung cancer. It won't happen to me. They put these ads on TV and it plants that idea into a person's head. You know? And the Trump campaign really worked on that same level. Reverse psychology. It works. It really does. I've used it many, many times to get myself laid. You act like you're not interested in getting laid, and sure enough, you're going to get laid. And it really don't matter what you look like. Oh, it's just sex. So what? You act that way, it's going to fall in your lap. But now we have a nation full of people who either really despise Donald Trump or they really, really love him. And no matter what he does, they will bend their own morality and to justify voting for him. When they are the ones who have fallen for the traps set for them by the media and Mr. Trump himself. The cult of personality is a very dangerous thing. It led 900 to commit mass suicide at the Jones compound. Remember? And this has happened over and over again. You get a strong warrior type, and you throw him out there to the public, and they admire him for his bravery and all that. And the next thing you know, your people are being slaughtered, and the man you thought would protect you from the evils of the world is exactly that. Evil of the world. A lot of Christians like to think that Donald Trump was somehow chosen by God. He wasn't chosen by God. He was chosen by the Rothschilds, the Zionists, the PNAC people, the neocons. You really think they gave a shit that he made peace with North Korea? Because they're going to lose some profits because they didn't get to bomb North Korea? No, they didn't give a shit. Because there's always somewhere else they can go bomb. There's always somewhere else to make the profits. Now, they wanted that deal to be hammered out to make Trump look like something he's not. and again, there are people, news reporters and so on, that do have genuine hate for Donald Trump, but overall, it's an act. It's a play. You might as well be going to Central Park, New York, and watching one of the gay-ass plays they put on there. Because it's what it is. It's theatrics. Everything. All of it. We live in a dream world. We live in a skewed reality. Where no matter what the state does to you, no matter who the state harms, when I say the state, I'm not just talking about our local government here, I'm talking about the entire apparatus, the military-industrial complex, all the way down to the law enforcement industrial complex. These people are hailed as heroes, even though they shoot people in the back, even though they shoot unarmed people, even though they kill children, even though they rape women, even though they falsely imprison nonviolent people every day. They're still your heroes, America's heroes. How? How are they heroes? Exactly. I've heard people tell me, well, they go out and risk their lives and this and that. Listen, man. Law enforcement is one of the safest occupations you can get into. So it's not that. They don't risk their lives. In some cases they may, but overall it's not, they don't. So we got these people, they're highly admired by the extremely indoctrinated sheeple, and no matter what they do, like I said, they kill children, unarmed people. No matter what they do, though, it can't be wrong. How is it bravery when you have an entire state behind you? You know who the brave person is? It's that man that stood up against those tanks. And I'm not saying he was smart, okay? I'm just saying he was brave. In Tiananmen Square, China. That is bravery. The man running into a burning home and saving the people inside, that is bravery. The guy who jumps into a swiftly moving, rapid current to save a child, that is bravery. But it's not bravery when one knows that no matter what they do, no matter how despicable the act, and I'm just speaking in general here, I'm not saying that people will hate a cop or not over things like pedophilia or child pornography, but overall, right? Overall, these people can do no wrong. Even though their every action against the public is exactly that. Every time they breach the Constitution. Every time. I mean, it's supposed to be the supreme law of the land, right? And if we were a nation ruled by laws and not the law of the jungle, as dickhead Bush Sr. put it, then, they would follow the law that was meant to govern them, but they don't. Instead, they find workarounds, such as incorporating. Incorporate, so the founding father, or the founding laws of this nation they have the ability to disregard it. And that's what's happened to us. You want to be a nation ruled by law, by other men, but you think you should hold those people accountable to the law of the land, that the laws that created this nation, that made it supposedly free? We're not a nation of law and ruled by law. Sure, everybody else on the street, you break one of these politicians' opinions, their laws, you're a criminal. They do it. It's politics. Politics. You lie to the FBI, it's a crime. You lie to the government, it's a crime. They lie to you, it's politics. We're not a nation of rule of law, because not everybody is accountable under those laws. Only the average, everyday citizen is held to those standards. And that's it. The rest of them, they can, in many cases, possess things like child pornography. They can have their fucking... They can be neck deep in serious crimes like child trafficking and money laundering, and the list can go on. But they'll never see the inside of a jail cell because they're the ones who created the laws. They're the ones who enforce the laws. And this is my whole problem with the idea, the notion that a man should be under the rule of law. What law? Whose law? You see, you should be asking every question you can. You know, who, where, what, why, how. And if all these questions aren't answered adequately, then how can they be the laws be, or the subject matter for be legitimate? So we have people on the right now in the same sycophantic position as those on the left were during the Obama administration. We keep hearing this stuff about civil war. We keep hearing all kinds of stuff, right? But it's all theater. Sure enough, they probably do want a civil war to happen. I mean, after all, our estimated population for the year 2025 is about 100 million people, right? It's a big die-off. So whatever it is they're doing, I think is probably directly linked to that number, to that die-off, or kill-off, or both. Any thinking, rational person, anyone with any kind of clarity, objectivity, has to see things for what they are, and when they do, they're unpopular. They're spat at. They're called names like meth head, like in my case. You know how often I get called that, even though my skin and everything else doesn't even project such a thing. But because I'm skinny, I get called meth head and heroin addict and all this other shit. Little do they know that these people have sores all over their faces a lot of the time, and bodies, and they're all fidgety. They can't focus on the things that I'm talking about. I tried. In jail, I tried to get people to see. And even those who are the biggest victims of the system sycophantically follow and justify the actions of the state. Even those people being held for no good reason, you know, pot possession, cells, never harmed another human being, at least not out of self-defense. But they'll still stand up for those fucking cops and lawmakers. They will. The last time I was in jail, I was with a guy who looked just like Captain Caveman. And man, did he get pissed off when I knocked the cops. Without those cops, people like you would end up dead in prison and blah, 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 blah. And I hate to tell him this, but someone like me is not going to end up dead in prison. You know why? You know why I won't end up dead in prison? Because instead of walking up to the biggest guy in the prison and hitting him, I would walk up to the biggest guy in prison and introduce myself and shake his hand. I would treat him like a human, and not a number, not a prisoner. And I wouldn't need the cops to defend me in prison because of that. My moral compass defends me. My honor defends me. And your moral compass, and your honor, your sense of right and wrong, your real sense of it, not this fake shit that we're fed, spoon-fed all of our lives. Real moral compass. That determines your survivability. Not some fucking idiot in a uniform that has a low IQ. You know these people are hired a lot of them because they don't have high IQs. They just follow orders. Look at the FAA, for example. They don't hire the most qualified candidates. They ignore the qualifications in favor of what? Skin color? Sexual orientation? The same thing goes with all these jobs. It's not given to the person who's best suited for the job. Very rarely. But Donald Trump and his followers are no better than Barack Obama and his followers. They are blind sheeple being led to the mouth of destruction, to be eaten up and shit out the other side. You want to be eaten up and shit out the other side? Do you? Because that is precisely what is happening to us. We are being eaten up and shit out the other side. You know I'm right. You know I am. Do you think they're going to tell you when Yellowstone, when they know for sure it's going to erupt? They're going to tell you. They're going to let it happen and let all you people fucking waste away because they have no use for you anymore. They have robots now. Robots that will pay taxes. Can you believe that? They don't need you. You're dispendable. So, don't expect any mercy because Donald Trump is in office. It's a ploy. It's a hoax. It's anything but true. Anything but actual. Anything but reality. The reality is Donald Trump is owned by a handful of Zionist bankers he owed billions of dollars to. And the moment he had the chance to repay these billions by pardoning these banks, he did. And that should tell you just how bought and paid for your man is. Reverse psychology, crowd psychology, groupthink, whatever you want to call it. All of you that follow these political candidates, that's exactly what's happened to you. Never mind what your conscience is trying to tell you. Forget about that. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to your conscience. Listen to the candidate. Listen to the cop. Listen. You do what you are fucking told. regardless if it goes against your conscience. Anyway, I thought I would have a morning chat with you. There's no real news to be discussed, although I could mention a couple of things here right quick before I get off. These cops in El Paso, Texas, pull guns on small children and threaten them with a baton. They're children. How are they a threat to these people? I don't know. But they did it. Where is our humanity at? What happened to us? When did we start being less than human? Anyway, thought I'd just have a chat with y'all. I hope you have a good morning. I'll work on my truck a little bit today. Remember, kill the state. Live free.